Chosen one, before this Saturday slips through your fingers like every other Saturday, before it, I need you to stop. Right now, put everything down, because what I'm about to tell you is not a sermon. It is not a motivational speech. It is a warning wrapped inside a gift, and it has your name written on it. Most people will burn through this Saturday the same tired way they always do. Errands, laundry, noise, distractions they call rest. They'll reach Sunday night having felt nothing, gained nothing, received nothing, and they won't even know what passed them by. But you already feel it, don't you? That unusual heaviness sitting in your chest this morning, the kind that has no logical explanation. That strange alertness behind tired eyes. That pull towards stillness when everything around you demands noise. That quiet, persistent knowing that something old in your life is finally breaking loose. You've been waiting so long that hope itself has become exhausting. You've learned not to expect too much. Disappointment taught you to guard your heart with both hands. So you smile, you function, you survive. But deep down, deep in the place no one sees, you know something is unfinished. Something God started in you was never completed, and it's been sitting there, quietly pressing against your ribs like it's ready to breathe. Here's the shocking truth nobody warned you about. Saturday is a spiritual hinge, and most chosen ones sleep right through it. In this message, I'm going to show you exactly why this Saturday feels different in your body before it ever becomes visible in your life. I'm going to show you the one pattern running through every person in Scripture who stood at a sacred turning point and nearly walked past it. And I am going to give you the Saturday response that keeps you from missing your own moment. If your spirit already knows this day carries weight, type right now, I will not sleep through this. Stay with me until the very end, because this message gets more specific the deeper we go. Saturday is not merely a day on the calendar. It is the kind of day when heaven moves quietly enough that distracted people miss it entirely, but prepared people feel it before they ever see it. Let me ask you something nobody else has had the courage to ask you today. Why does this Saturday feel different inside your chest? Not outside, not in your schedule, not in the news, inside you. In that quiet, pressurized place behind your sternum where you keep the things you don't say out loud. You woke up today and something was already sitting on you. Not a bad mood, not a bad memory. Something heavier than either of those and strangely more awake. You can't shake it. You've tried. You made your coffee, checked your phone, told yourself it was nothing, but it's still there. Pressing, watching, waiting. I want to tell you what that is, because you deserve an explanation for something you've been feeling your whole life and never had the right words for. Your body knows things your mind hasn't been told yet. Read that again. Your body knows things your mind hasn't been told yet. This is not mysticism. This is how God designed you. Long before your rational mind can assemble the language for what's shifting in your life. Your physical self, your chest, your shoulders, the quality of your breathing has already begun to register the change. Scientists call it interoception. The ancient Hebrews called it something far more sacred. They called it the movement of the spirit within the flesh. Job said it plainly in Job 33:4. The Spirit of God has made me. The breath of the Almighty gives me life. That breath, that divine current running through your biology, is what you've been feeling since you woke up this morning. That is not anxiety. That is not age. That is not weakness. That is the Almighty breathing something new into the only vessel He trusts to carry it. You. Now let me name what you've been feeling, specifically because being seen matters when you've spent years being misread. That heaviness in your chest that appeared without warning, that is not depression. That is spiritual weight. The kind that comes when something of eternal significance is pressing close to the surface of your ordinary life. A door that is about to open does not announce itself with bells. It announces itself with weight. You feel the gravity of what's approaching before you see the door itself. That restlessness, the kind that is not quite anxiety, not quite energy, but something uncomfortably in between. That is your spirit refusing to remain still because stillness no longer fits where you are standing. You can feel the shift coming, and some ancient part of you is already leaning toward it. That sudden aversion to shallow conversation, the way certain interactions this week felt almost physically draining, like the words were too thin to hold any real weight. That is discernment. When a person is approaching a threshold, their spirit instinctively begins to conserve, to quiet, to protect the frequency from noise that cannot serve what is coming. Ecclesiastes 3-7 does not say there is a time to talk through everything. It says there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. Your silence lately has not been withdrawal. It has been preparation. Your spirit is like a shoreline, already feeling the tide shift long before the eye sees the wave. And that exhaustion mixed with sharp inward awareness, that feeling of being bone-tired and simultaneously more alert than you've been in months, that is the most specific sign of all. That combination, fatigue in the flesh, luminosity in the spirit, appears in Scripture every single time a chosen person stands on the edge of their next assignment. Daniel 10-8. No strength was left in me. Yet in that same passage, Daniel heard with perfect clarity. He understood with absolute precision. His body was undone, but his spirit was razor sharp. What looked like collapse from the outside was actually calibration on the inside. This is what is happening in you right now. You are not falling apart. You are being calibrated. And here is the truth that will either sting you or set you free depending on how long you have been telling yourself the wrong story. The confusion you have been feeling is not evidence that something went wrong. It is evidence that something is about to go very, very right. The pressure you feel is not the pressure of a life caving in. It is the pressure of the air right before a storm breaks, and for the chosen, that storm is not destruction. It is transition. There is a biblical reason why the most sacred movements always begin in silence first. Why every great turning point in Scripture was preceded not by noise and spectacle, but by a hushed, heavy, barely breathable moment of interior reckoning. The Red Sea did not open on a sunny afternoon of ordinary calm. It opened after a night of impossible pressure. Your Saturday carries that same pressure. If you have been feeling tired and alert at the same time today, don't you dare dismiss it. Whisper it to yourself right now and mean it. Maybe this is transition, not trouble. What you have been calling emotional confusion may be the most spiritually aware you have ever been in your entire life. Your spirit may already be recognizing this Saturday before your circumstances have caught up to what heaven is already doing. And what has been building in the silence behind your waiting, that is exactly what we have to talk about next. Let me tell you something that the modern world has almost entirely forgotten. Something that the ancient teachers understood so deeply they built their entire theology around it. God does not move loudly before he moves publicly. He whispers first. He repositions in secret first. He does his greatest work in the hidden hour, the hour before the dawn, the hour nobody applauds, the hour that looks, from the outside, like absolutely nothing is happening. And some of you, especially those of you who have lived long enough to stop being impressed by noise, you already know this. You've seen it. You've lived it. You know what it means to keep showing up with tears burning behind your eyes and faith still somehow intact in your bones. You know what it means to hold on to a promise that the world around you stopped believing in a long time ago. That is not weakness. That is the specific qualification God has always required from the ones he moves through most powerfully. Now let me show you the pattern. Because it is not accidental, it runs through Scripture like a spine. Esther didn't walk boldly into the king's court on a Tuesday morning, fully confident, perfectly prepared, surrounded by applause. No. She had 12 months of hidden formation first, 12 months of quiet, invisible preparation in a place she did not choose, for a purpose she could not yet see. She fasted, she prayed, she sat in the silence. And then, when the appointed Saturday of her story finally arrived, she walked forward, not because the fear was gone, but because the formation was finally complete. Your formation is not a detour, it is the assignment. Moses. 40 years in a desert. Not 40 days, 40 years. A prince reduced to a shepherd. A man with the education of Egypt and the calling of heaven, tending livestock on the backside of nowhere. Can you imagine the silence of those years? Can you imagine what he must have wondered in the long desert nights? But when God finally appeared in that burning bush, Moses didn't walk out as a man who'd been wasting time. He walked out as a man who'd been built. Endurance nobody could manufacture. Humility no palace could produce. The wilderness wasn't punishment. It was the laboratory where a deliverer was being made. Some of you have been in your own desert, not for weeks, for years, and you've been telling yourself something is wrong with you, that you missed it, that God moved on, that the promise expired while you were waiting. But I need you to hear this clearly. Moses was 80 years old when his real assignment began. 80. His best decade was not behind him. It was still ahead, waiting on the other side of a burning bush. David, anointed as king while still a teenager. Then what? Not a throne, a cave, years of caves, running, hiding, writing psalms nobody heard, crying out to a God who seemed to be watching but not acting. The throne that had his name on it was occupied by someone else, and David had to keep choosing every single morning to trust the promise over the evidence. But those caves didn't diminish David. They carved something into his character that no palace ever could have. By the time he finally sat on that throne, he didn't just have a crown, he had the soul to carry it. And then there is Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold, enslaved, falsely accused, thrown into prison, forgotten by the very man he helped. Every door slammed shut, every hope crushed before it could breathe. And yet Genesis 50:20 says it plain. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Not some of it, all of it. Every pit, every prison, every year of silence. It was all moving toward a moment so significant that it would save an entire nation. Your pit is not your final address. But here is the most sacred Saturday in all of human history, the one that holds the entire pattern together. Good Friday, the cross. Sunday morning, the resurrection. But what about Saturday? Saturday was the day the disciples sat in a locked room, grieving, confused, terrified. The stone was rolled. The tomb was sealed. Every dream they had carried for 3 years looked finished. From where they were sitting, it was over. But heaven was not inactive on that Saturday. Heaven was doing something so profound, so irreversible, so cosmically significant that no human eye could witness it and no human mind could contain it. The most powerful thing God had ever done was happening in secret, in silence, in what looked from the outside like the end of everything. That is the Holy Saturday pattern. And chosen one, that is your pattern right now. The burial has happened. You have felt the weight of that stone. You know what it is to sit in the silence of a Saturday that feels like loss. But hear me, heaven is not inactive in your Saturday. God is arranging, right now, what your eyes cannot yet read. What looks like stillness from where you are standing is actually the most intense divine activity of your entire life. The question is not whether God is moving. The question is whether this Saturday is personal for you. Not just symbolic, not just theological, but personal. your name, your story, your specific, particular, unrepeatable moment, because I believe it is, and I believe what comes next will prove it. Don't go anywhere, because this is where the message stops being general and becomes entirely about you. Let me ask you something that nobody else has been honest enough to ask you. How many years did you carry it quietly? How many mornings did you wake up, look at the ceiling, and swallow back the question you were afraid to say out loud? God, did you forget about me? You never stopped believing. But somewhere along the way, believing started to hurt. And you learned to carry that hurt the way you carry everything, without making a sound, without burdening anyone, without letting them see the crack running straight through the center of your chest. You served faithfully when nobody clapped. You prayed in rooms where nobody knew your name. You forgave people who never once apologized. You kept the family together while falling apart in private. You sat beside hospital beds, buried the ones you loved most, watched your children drift toward lives that broke your heart, and you still got up on Sunday mornings. I need you to hear this, not as a compliment, as a revelation. That was not weakness. That was weight-bearing. And God does not give weight to people He has not already reinforced from the inside out. The prophet Jeremiah wrote this burned into Scripture like a brand. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. But here is what people always forget to read. That promise was written to people sitting in Babylon, in exile, in the long, humiliating middle of a story that had not turned around yet. God did not write that verse to comfortable people. He wrote it to people in their waiting season, people just like you. So let me name what was actually happening while you were waiting. The first thing God built in you was endurance that cannot be manufactured. Not the kind that comes from an easy life, the kind that only grows when you had every reason to quit and you didn't, when hope looked foolish by every external measurement and you held on to it anyway. That quality, the ability to remain steady when the season refuses to change, cannot be downloaded, cannot be bought, cannot be faked. It is forged, and your life was the furnace. The second thing He built was discernment, the slow, quiet ability to feel what belongs and what does not, to sense a counterfeit before it finishes speaking, to know when a room is wrong before anyone else detects the shift. The years of betrayal by people you trusted, those did not harden you into bitterness. They sharpened you into something far more dangerous to the enemy, a person who cannot be easily deceived anymore. The third thing, and this is the one most people miss entirely, is roots. Deep roots. The kind you cannot see from the surface, the kind that went down in you during the loneliest winters, during the financial pressure that kept you awake at 3 inches the morning, during the health scare that rewrote everything you thought you knew about your future. What looked like winter was root work. What felt like burial was depth. God was not ignoring you. He was making you heavy enough to carry what lighter souls could not steward. And there is more. He built in you a compassion that is no longer naive, a soft heart. Yes, still soft, but surrounded now by stronger boundaries. The kind of love that can sit beside someone in their darkness without losing itself in it. You know what real suffering feels like, which means you know how to be present for someone else's without flinching, without offering cheap answers, without rushing them toward a healing they have not yet reached. He built in you something the ancient writers called holy sobriety. You no longer romanticize easy answers. You no longer chase the feeling of faith. You have learned to trust the foundation of it. That is rare. That is irreplaceable. And that is precisely what the next chapter of your life is going to require. If you know your pain changed you, if you know it built something real inside you, type right now, it built something in me. Because here is the shocking truth that most people who are sitting where you are sitting have never been told. You were not being punished in the waiting. You were being made ready for a day that would require more than excitement. It would require wait. Excitement fades when the first obstacle hits. Enthusiasm collapses when the assignment gets heavy. But wait, the spiritual weight of a person who has been through what you have been through that does not collapse. That is what holds the room together when everyone else is shaking. Romans 5:3 does not say suffering produces suffering. It says suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope, the kind that does not disappoint. That is not a linear progression, that is a transformation. And you have been inside that transformation longer than you realized. The tree that has been through the storm does not grow taller by fighting the wind. It grows deeper. While the branches were bending, your roots were reaching further and further down into something no storm could ever touch. And now that the roots are deep, Saturday does not come to destroy you. It comes to reveal what can finally stand. There are 3 things already beginning to move this Saturday in your life. The first one may hurt before it heals, but it is moving, and you are ready for it. Let me ask you something most people are too afraid to say out loud. Have you noticed lately that certain people in your life, people you loved, people you prayed with, people you built history with, have grown strangely quiet? Not cold, not angry, just distant. Like they can sense you're moving somewhere they can't follow, and they don't have words for it. Neither do you. That is not your imagination. That is the first shift that Saturday brings. Here is what no one told you about spiritual promotion. It doesn't always feel like a celebration. Sometimes it feels like a slow, quiet loss. People who once matched your pace simply stop keeping up. Conversations that used to feel deep start feeling hollow. Rooms that once felt like home start feeling like borrowed space. And because you are a loyal person, because you have loved deeply and stayed long, your first instinct is to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Nothing. You did nothing wrong. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says it plainly, to everything there is a season. Not a lifetime, a season. Some people were assigned to your winter. They were never meant to walk into your spring. That is not failure. That is the faithfulness of God rearranging your life for what is coming next. But I need you to hear this, because this is where it cuts deepest for many of you watching right now. Some of you know what it feels like to outgrow a room you spent years praying to stay in, a marriage that slowly lost its language, a friendship that once felt like oxygen now feels like effort, a congregation that shaped you but no longer holds you. Children you raised in the faith who now look at you like a stranger speaking an ancient dialect they stopped learning years ago. You know the specific ache of loving someone who simply cannot walk where your spirit is going. And here is the cruelest part. There was no betrayal, no explosion, no villain in this story. Just a slow, sorrowful recognition that the same 2 people who once finished each other's sentences now live in different spiritual time zones. They are in Chronos, ordinary time. You have moved into Kairos, and that gap between you is not a wound, it is a calling. David experienced this. The man who slew Goliath, the man anointed by Samuel, watched his own brothers mock him at the battlefield. The very family that should have celebrated his anointing couldn't comprehend his assignment. 1 Samuel 17:28, his oldest brother Eliab looked at him and said, "Why have you come down here? Not welcome. Not we're glad you're here. Just why are you here?" Sound familiar? Some of the people who should be your loudest supporters are your most confused critics. Not because they are evil, because they are still in the chapter God already closed in your story. But now, and this is where I need you to lean in close here, is the other half of what Saturday brings. Just when the ache of departing relationships begins to settle in your chest, something else begins to happen, quietly, unexpectedly, from directions you were not watching. New voices begin to emerge, not from your old circles, not from the places you have already been, from entirely different directions. People who speak your spiritual language without needing a dictionary. People who look you in the eyes and immediately understand what took your old relationships years to almost grasp. Spiritually mature companions who do not drain you, they restore you. This is Ruth and Naomi. When Naomi's old world crumbled, her husband gone, her sons gone, the life she had built reduced to rubble, she released the people around her. She said to Orpah and Ruth, "Go back." And Orpah went. But Ruth stepped forward and said, "Where you go, I will go." Ruth 1:16. One departure, one arrival. The departure was sorrowful, the arrival was sacred, and the arrival changed everything. Your Ruths are already moving toward you. You cannot see them yet because you are still grieving the Orpahs. Beloved, and I say this with every ounce of tenderness I carry, the relational grief you are feeling on this Saturday is not evidence that your life is shrinking. It is evidence that God is clearing the ground. He cannot plant new seeds in soil still occupied by yesterday's harvest. Pray this before the day ends. Say it simply, honestly, from wherever you are sitting right now. Lord, teach me what is leaving and what is arriving, not with panic, not with clinging, with the steady, trusting openness of someone who has learned sometimes the hard way that God's rearrangements are always better than your arrangements. Saturday may begin with relational grief, but it does not end there. It begins there because God always clears before He fills, and relationships are only the first layer of what is shifting. The second Saturday shift reaches deeper than your relationships. It reaches into the very reason you are still here, your assignment, your purpose, the calling you have quietly carried for years without ever fully naming it out loud. And what God is about to show you about that, it will change the way you see every single thing you have walked through. Now I need you to stay with me because this is where everything we just walked through stops being about your past and starts being about your purpose. You felt the weight of Saturday in your body. You recognized the symptoms. You admitted what you've been carrying underneath the silence. Good. That took courage. But here's what I haven't told you yet. That weight you've been feeling, it was never just grief. It was never just weariness. That heaviness pressing on your chest this Saturday morning is the feeling of a calling that has been waiting patiently, relentlessly, faithfully for you to stop running from it. And right now, on this very day, the fog is starting to lift. Not all at once. Not as some dramatic lightning bolt from the sky, but as something quieter, something more holy, the slow, steady disappearance of everything in your life that was never true in the first place. See, most people think clarity arrives as a spotlight, a burning bush, a voice from heaven with a 12-step plan and a personal timeline. But beloved, that is not how God usually moves. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision and make it plain, plain, not complicated, not overwhelming, plain, because God knows your assignment was always simpler than the enemy made it seem." Sometimes calling does not arrive as a spotlight. Sometimes it arrives as the quiet disappearance of everything false. And right now, on this Saturday, certain things in your life are going quiet. Certain doors are sealing themselves shut. Certain relationships are losing their grip on you. Certain old versions of yourself are falling away like dead leaves in November. And instead of mourning what's leaving, I need you to pay attention to what remains. What remains when everything false is stripped away? That's your assignment. Now let me speak directly to someone specific. Maybe you're 67, maybe you're 74, Maybe you're 81 years old and you've been sitting in your chair this Saturday morning thinking quietly, painfully that your best days are behind you, that your purpose expired somewhere between the last grandchild's birthday and the last doctor's appointment, that God has moved on to younger, louder, more energetic vessels. I need you to hear me right now and hear me clearly. You are not spiritually retired. You are not used up. You are not a leftover. Moses received his life's greatest assignment at 80 years old. 80. Caleb stood before Joshua at 85 and declared, "Give me this mountain." Not give me a rocking chair. Not give me a quiet corner. Give me the mountain, the hardest territory, the unconquered ground. Because Caleb knew something that the culture around you has tried to steal from you. Wisdom years are assignment years. The world measures value by energy. God measures value by depth. And you, chosen one, have depth that took decades to build. You cannot manufacture what you carry in a classroom or a conference. It was forged in 40 years of faithfulness, in seasons of grief nobody photographed, in prayers nobody heard but God, in the long, invisible work of a soul being made ready. And now Saturday is asking you, what exactly do you carry? Maybe you are an intercessor, the one whose prayers have held your family together through things they will never fully understand. Maybe you are a truth carrier, the one person in your circle who cannot pretend, cannot perform, cannot smile through a lie, because truth is literally what you are made of. Maybe you are a stabilizer, the quiet, steady presence that keeps panic from becoming catastrophe when everything around you is falling apart. Maybe you are a watchman, a mentor, a peacemaker, a light bearer inside a family system that desperately needs someone who will not be moved. You don't need a stage. You don't need 10,000 followers. You don't need a microphone or a ministry title or a building with your name on it. You just need to understand what you carry and stop apologizing for carrying it. Jeremiah 1-5 says God knew you and appointed you before he formed you in the womb, before your first breath, before your first mistake, before the disappointments, before the delays, before every year that felt wasted. The calling was already written. And Saturday is not giving you a new assignment. Saturday is revealing the one that was always yours. If you feel your purpose has been trying to come into focus, say this right now: Lord, make it plain. Say it like you mean it, because the prayer of clarity is one of the most dangerous prayers you can pray. God takes it seriously. He will begin removing everything that doesn't belong, and that process is not always comfortable. Saturday does not always hand you a full blueprint. Sometimes it simply removes what is no longer true until your real assignment is the only thing left standing. And when you finally see it, when the fog clears and the thing God placed in you before the world told you who to be comes back into view, you will wonder how you ever missed it. It was always there. It was always you. But clarity, dear one, is not the hardest part. The hardest part is what comes next. Because there is one obstacle not outside of you, not a circumstance, not another person, but one thing living inside the chest of every chosen soul that has caused generation after generation to stand at the very edge of their breakthrough and shrink back. And that is exactly what we need to confront right now. Let me ask you something that nobody in your life has been brave enough to ask you. When was the last time you let yourself fully hope? Not the surface kind. Not the Lord, if it's your will kind, the kind that keeps one foot outside the door so it doesn't hurt as much when nothing changes. I mean the raw, all-in, completely exposed kind of hope. The kind you had before life taught you what disappointment actually costs. You can't remember, can you? And that silence that pours before you answer, that right there is the real battle. Not your faith, not your worthiness, not whether God is able. The real war happening inside you on this Saturday is far more subtle and far more dangerous than simple doubt. It is the war between what you still believe and what you have learned to protect yourself from feeling. You have been here before, standing at the edge of something that felt holy, something that felt like finally. You prayed, you believed, you opened your hands, and then the door didn't open. The healing didn't come. The promise didn't arrive on the timeline your heart had quietly built around it. And you didn't just feel disappointed, you felt foolish, like hoping itself had betrayed you. So you made a decision, not out loud, not consciously, but somewhere deep in the architecture of who you are, you made a quiet agreement with yourself. Never again that exposed, never again that open, never again that destroyed. And beloved, I want you to hear me say this clearly, that decision made complete sense. Proverbs 13:12 tells us, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, not weak, not faithless, sick." That is scripture, honoring your pain. God himself named what repeated disappointment does to the human heart. Your guardedness was not a spiritual failure. It was a survival response. You built those walls because rain kept getting in. And those walls protected you. They held you together when the grief could have taken you completely apart. But here is the devastating truth this Saturday is asking you to face. The walls that kept out heartbreak may now be blocking the very door you have been praying to walk through. Think about that. You have been asking God for a breakthrough while simultaneously making sure nothing breaks through. You have been praying for open doors while standing behind a heart that learned to stay locked. You have been asking to receive with clenched fists, and you cannot receive anything with clenched fists. This is not a rebuke. This is a revelation. There is a difference. Because here is what I know about you. You are still here. You did not stop watching. You did not walk away. And that means some part of you, some bruised, tired, fiercely stubborn part, has refused to let hope die completely. It is battered. It is cautious. It is watching from a distance, but it is still alive inside you. That is not weakness. That is the most extraordinary thing about you. But Saturday is calling that part forward. Not into recklessness. Not into pretending the pain never happened. Not into performing a faith you have to manufacture from the outside in. Saturday is calling you into something far more honest and far more terrifying than optimism. It is calling you into receptivity. There is a moment in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, that I want you to sit with. Blind Bartimaeus is sitting by the road. He hears that Jesus is passing by, and he cries out loudly, desperately, embarrassingly loud. The crowd tells him to be quiet, to be appropriate, to stop making a scene. And what does Bartimaeus do? He cries out louder, not because he had no reason to guard himself, not because life had been kind to him, but because he understood something the crowd had forgotten. Some moments only come once, and when Jesus stops and calls for him, Scripture says Bartimaeus threw off his cloak, the one possession a beggar owned, the one thing standing between him and the cold ground, and he ran. He ran before he could see. He moved before the miracle was confirmed. That cloak was his security, his backup plan, his protection against the worst case. And he threw it down anyway. What is the cloak you are still holding on to on this Saturday? What is the backup plan, the emotional distance, the careful guardedness that you have convinced yourself is wisdom, but is actually the last thing standing between you and what God has been trying to place in your hands? The pain is no longer in what happened to you. The danger now, the real danger, is in letting old heartbreak make you inaccessible to the very thing you have been praying for. You survived the disappointment. That is already remarkable. But surviving was never the final destination. God did not carry you through all of that simply to leave you permanently braced for impact. He carried you through it so that when this Saturday arrived, this specific, appointed, heaven-weighted Saturday, you would still be standing, still breathing, still here, still reachable. If disappointment taught you to live guarded, write this right now: I'm still learning to receive. Because the next thing I am going to show you is not a concept, it is not a theological idea. It is a practical Saturday protocol, 3 questions that can move you from guarded to open before this day is over. And for someone who has been waiting as long as you have, those 3 questions could change everything. Now I need you to lean in. Because everything I've shared with you up to this moment, the weight you felt this morning, the restlessness you couldn't name, the sense that something sacred is pressing against the walls of your ordinary life, all of it has been building toward this. Feeling something on a Saturday is not enough. Heaven does not reward sensation. Heaven rewards response. And this is where most chosen ones get it wrong. They feel the shift. They sense the threshold. They sit with the weight of a sacred moment, and then Saturday ends, and they do nothing with it. Sunday comes, Monday follows, and the moment that was meant to change everything quietly closes behind them like a door they didn't know they were walking past. Not you. Not today. Here is your Saturday protocol. 3 questions. Not questions for a journal, not questions for next week. Questions for right now before this day is over. Question 1. What am I being asked to release? Chosen one. There is something you are still holding that does not belong in your next chapter. I am not talking about something obvious. I am talking about the thing you already know about, but have been quietly excusing. Maybe it is an old identity, the version of yourself that stayed small to keep the peace. Maybe it is a relationship that has been draining you for years, one you keep returning to out of habit, not out of health. Maybe it is a resentment you wrapped in prayer language to make it feel more righteous than it actually is. Maybe it is a fear-based routine you call wisdom, but is really just self-protection dressed up in discipline. Ecclesiastes 3-6 says, "There is a time to keep and a time to cast away." Saturday is a casting away day, and God cannot fill what you refuse to empty. The reason the new has not arrived is not because heaven is withholding. It is because your hands are still full of what was. Ask yourself honestly, what am I holding that I already know does not fit where I am going? Sit with that. Let it rise. You already know the answer. You have known it for a while. You have just been waiting for permission to let it go. This is your permission. Question 2. What is becoming clear that I have been resisting? There is a truth that has been knocking on the door of your spirit for months, maybe longer. You have felt it but refused to fully face it, because once you see something clearly, you become responsible for it. And responsibility feels heavier than confusion. Maybe it is the truth about a person in your life, someone you have been excusing, defending, carrying, when the evidence has been speaking plainly for years. Maybe it is the truth about your calling, that what you have been doing is not actually what you were built to do, and somewhere deep down you have always known it. Maybe it is the truth about what is slowly deadening you, the environment, the routine, the version of your days that looks fine from the outside but feels like slow suffocation on the inside. John 8:32 does not say the truth will make you comfortable. It says the truth will make you free. Those are not always the same thing. Clarity is arriving today, not as lightning, as the quiet disappearance of every excuse you have been using to delay the honest answer. Stop resisting it. The clarity you have been asking God for, it is already here. It arrived with this Saturday morning. Question 3. Who am I becoming that my current environment can no longer fully contain? This is the one that will shake you if you are honest enough to answer it. Because chosen one, the person who walked into this week, and the person sitting at this threshold right now are not identical. The wilderness did something to you. The waiting did something to you. The seasons of silence and wait and invisible faithfulness built something in you that your old environment was never designed to hold. A tree that has grown past the pot it was planted in does not keep growing in that pot. It either breaks out or it stops growing altogether. And God did not form you through fire and drought and desert years just to watch you stop growing. This is not arrogance. This is stewardship. Recognizing who you are becoming is an act of obedience, not pride. Now, one bonus tool before we move forward. I call it the stillness audit. 4 honest questions. Hold them in your spirit right now. What drains me? What restores me? What slowly deadens my spirit when I am around it too long? What wakes something up inside me that feels like my truest self? The distance between those two sides is not a problem to solve. It is a map. It shows you exactly where your life is leaking and exactly where God has been trying to lead you all along. Before tonight, sit with these questions. Do not rush the answers. Do not perform the answers. Let them work in you the way the Holy Spirit works slowly, honestly, from the inside out. Because Saturday is not only a day to feel something, Saturday is a day to answer something. And if you thought the revelation stopped here, stay with me, because what is coming next will name 5 specific kinds of people that Saturday was built to awaken, and one of them is you. Let me stop right here. Before I go any further, I need to ask you something that may shake you to your core. What if the very thing you have spent your whole life apologizing for is the exact thing God deliberately placed inside you? What if the sensitivity that made others call you too much was actually divine discernment being mistaken for weakness? What if the isolation that made you feel forgotten was actually God separating you for consecration? What if every delay, every closed door, every season of silence was never punishment at all, but preparation so precise, so surgical, so intentional that only God Himself could have designed it? Saturday does not create who you are. Saturday exposes who you have always been, and I am about to name it. Right now, out loud. The first identity Saturday is waking up is the seer. You have always felt things before they happened. You walk into a room and you read what is underneath the surface, the tension no one named, the grief no one admitted, the shift no one else detected. You sensed that friendship breaking long before the phone stopped ringing. You felt that season ending before anyone else saw the signs. And do you know what the world called that gift? Too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But hear me, Elisha saw armies of angels in 2 Kings 6 when his servant saw nothing but enemy chariots. He wasn't imagining things. He was operating at a frequency the ordinary world couldn't access. That is you. You were never broken. You were built differently. And this Saturday, every perception you have muted, to keep the peace, God is turning the volume back up. The second identity Saturday is waking up is the pioneer. You have outgrown people. You have outgrown places. You have outgrown versions of yourself. And it has cost you relationships that couldn't survive the growth. Rooms that felt suffocating once you finally saw past their walls. Circles that called your forward movement arrogance. But hear me clearly. Pioneers don't have maps. They become the map. Abraham left everything familiar in Genesis 12. No GPS, no guarantee, just a direction and a God who said go. The loneliness you felt in this season was never evidence that you were wrong. It was evidence that you were ahead. Saturday is not asking you to wait for permission. It is the day permission already arrived. The third identity Saturday is waking up is the spiritual warrior. I need you to understand something. A warrior is not defined by the absence of wounds. A warrior is defined by the fact that after everything designed to bring them down, they are still standing. You did not collapse. You came close. You bent. There were nights in this journey where you prayed prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and fell back on you cold. There were seasons where you carried grief so heavy, your bones ached with it. But you are still here, still watching, still reaching. Ephesians 6 does not say fight until you tire. It says having done all stand. That is your credential, not your perfection, your endurance. And what God is releasing through you this Saturday requires someone who has been through fire and refused to become ash. The fourth identity Saturday's waking up is the truth carrier. You cannot stay long in false environments. You have tried. God knows you have tried the shallow conversations that suffocated you, the performances of happiness that exhausted you, the rooms where the truth you carried had no place to land. And people called you difficult, intense, complicated. But Jesus said in John 8:32, "The truth will set you free, not comfort you, not entertain you, set you free." Truth carriers feel the weight of what is real because they were made to speak it into places where pretense has done enough damage. The very thing that made you feel like an outsider, your absolute inability to live a lie, is the precise qualification for what God is calling you to do next. The fifth identity Saturday is waking up is the light bearer. Every room you have ever entered was changed by your presence, even when you felt invisible. People have opened up to you in checkout lines, on park benches, in hospital waiting rooms, drawn to something in you they could not name but could not resist. That was never personality, that was function. Isaiah 60:1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, not arrive, not develop. Come." It is already here. It has always been here. And this Saturday is not asking you to generate more light. It is asking you to stop apologizing for the light you already carry. You were not strange, dear one. You were being shaped for a role that ordinary preparation could never produce. The sensitivity was discernment. The isolation was consecration. The delay was development. The difference was calling. And this Saturday does not build that identity from scratch. It simply removes everything that was covering it. Now I need you to do something. Don't stay silent inside what you just felt. If one of these identities pierced something real in you, write it right now in the comments. Just one word: seer, pioneer, warrior, truth carrier, light bearer. Let heaven and earth know who just woke up, because what I am about to show you next is how God intends to deploy every single one of these identities, specifically, powerfully, and urgently in the days immediately following this Saturday. Chosen one, we have traveled far together in this message, and now I need you to hear me at the deepest level, not with your ears, but with the part of you that already knows what I'm about to say is true. You have waited too long. You have suffered too much. You have survived too much. You have learned too much through too many sleepless nights, too many unanswered prayers, too many mornings you got up when you had every reason to stay down to treat this Saturday like it is nothing. Let me ask you something that might shake you. What if the very prayer you whispered into the dark 3 years ago, the one nobody heard, the one you stopped repeating because hope felt too risky, what if that prayer is being answered right now, quietly, in a language so subtle that distraction would make you miss it entirely? Because here is the truth the enemy does not want you to understand. God does not always answer with thunder. Sometimes he answers with a turning, a slow, holy, interior turning. And if you are waiting for the dramatic moment before you believe something has shifted, you will walk right past the miracle that is already in motion. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." You have spent seasons watching for the perfect conditions, waiting for the sign to be unmistakable, waiting for the peace to be complete before you moved. And all along, God has been planting seeds in your Saturday, soil seeds you could not see, because you were looking at the clouds instead of trusting the ground. Do not confuse quietness with emptiness. Do not interpret slowness as absence. Do not let old disappointment talk you out of present recognition. The disciples on the road to Emmaus walked with Jesus for miles and did not recognize him. Luke 24:16 says their eyes were kept from recognizing him. They were in the presence of the resurrection and called it just a conversation. They were inside their miracle and named it disappointment. Chosen one, are you doing that right now? Are you inside something sacred and calling it ordinary? I am telling you, Saturday is the hinge, not always the full reveal. You will not always feel the door swing open. Sometimes you only feel the lock turning quietly. On the inside, before anything changes in your circumstances, something changes in you. And that interior shift, that is not the beginning of nothing. That is the beginning of everything. You do not need noise to know when heaven is moving. You never did. That's what made you different from the start. So before this Saturday ends, before you let this day dissolve into the ordinary, I am asking you to do one sacred thing. Sit in stillness, 5 minutes, 10 if you can, and answer 3 questions honestly, in the quiet place where only God hears. What am I still carrying that does not belong in my next chapter? What has God already been showing me that I have been too afraid to act on? Who am I becoming, and am I giving that person permission to emerge? Do not sleep through the day that begins to answer the prayers you cried when nobody was watching. Right now, in the comments, type these words: I will not miss my Saturday. Not for the algorithm, not for the count, but as a declaration to heaven, to yourself, to the enemy who has been betting on your silence that you are awake, you are watching, and you are willing to receive. If this message found you at the right time, if something in your spirit recognized itself in these words today, stay connected here, because what comes next in this channel is specifically for those who know they are in a turning season. Every message released here is a word for the prepared, the watchful, the ones who refuse to stop listening even when the answer took longer than expected. And if you know someone who has been tired, watchful, and quietly standing at the edge of change, send them this message today, not tomorrow, today. You may be the instrument God uses to keep them from sleeping through their own Saturday. I want to leave you with this. Saturday may not look dramatic to the world. The neighbors will not see it. The calendar will not mark it. The noise of the weekend will try to cover it completely. But for the chosen, Saturday is the day the lock turns inside the door. It is the day that what has been sealed in heaven begins to open on earth. It is the day the waiting stops being punishment and starts becoming promise. And once that turning begins, nothing stays the same for long. Go into your Saturday knowing you are seen, knowing you are not forgotten, knowing that the God who counted every tear, who recorded every prayer, who kept you alive through every season that tried to bury you, that God is not finished. He is not late. He is right on time. And so are you.